Hey, what's up, friends? Grant Baldwin here. Welcome back to the Speaker Lab podcast. Good to have you here with us today. Hey, excited for today's conversation with Michael Patellis, one of the co-founders from Copecart. And if you are a speaker who has a lot of content and knowledge and IP, maybe you're doing a lot of speaking and you're trying to figure out, hey, what else can I do beyond the stage with this content? That's what this conversation is going to be about today. So, Michael, first of all, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Grant. Thank you for having me.
Hey, why don't you give us a snapshot here? Like, what exactly is Copecart? What is it that you guys do, and how is it that you help? You might be able to help speakers.
Absolutely. We are an e-commerce platform that's optimized for um, coaches, digital learning, all types of courses. So basically, what we offer is an entire back end from different types of payment methods, from credit cards to financing, then different marketing tools. We also have a affiliate network, so we have over 100,000 affiliates in which you can they could choose your products and represent you and help you earn money, and we pay them commissions. And so basically, we're an entire back end that'll help run your business so that you can grow and scale effectively and quickly.
Very cool. Now, so for a speaker who's going like, again, I've got, I do a decent amount of speaking, and I've got a good grasp on my content, my keynotes, my workshops, and I'm thinking about ways that I can develop revenue that doesn't require me getting on a plane or having to stand on stage to give a speech. And so obviously doing some type of online course or online community, are great options. How should a speaker, with all the different options that exist out there, in terms of, should this be a course, should this be a membership, should this be a community, what should this be? How should we begin to approach this?
So there's definitely two options, like I said, either be a course or a membership. A lot of the vendors that we have, they do courses, and they're high ticket items. They range anywhere in price from 5,000 all the way up to $50,000. And basically, what they're telling is their knowledge on how to make money within a certain segment. How to make money in investing, how to make money in real estate, and then they also have follow ups where they have subscriptions as well, where you can stay in continuous contact with the vendor and continue to get educated and mentored.
And so for a speaker who has a lot of that content, and again, they're just kind of looking at a blank slate, going like, okay, I know I want to create some type of course. I'm trying to figure out like, how many modules or lessons, and how long should things be, and what should this just be, professionally produced? Should this just be me talking to my webcam? Should this be, with a bunch of slides, or like, how do we even begin to approach this?
Yep. That's the easiest. The hardest part is just getting started, actually, because a lot of people say, well, yeah, I've got to make it perfect. I've got to do all these slides and presentations, curriculum, all this documentation. The best thing to do is just get started. And it could be as simple as, hosting weekly webinars. And then as you continue to gain your audience, then you can develop more content, and you can start to upsell all the people that are on your webinars, or people that are subscribers to you, start to upsell them. And from then you can build a more stringent curriculum. Obviously, the more detailed the data is, and the more guidance you provide, then the more value that you offer them, and they're able to pay more for it. Right now, we have a lot of people, especially younger people, who are considering, well, do I really want to go to college and go to get in debt by $200,000 and not come out with still a life skill or job professional skill of what I want to do for a living, as opposed to I can invest $20,000 in a particular course in a vertical that I know that I'm passionate about, and take that $20,000, and 12 weeks later, then I'm ready and qualified and ready to start making money.
Are there, because there's going to be like different price points depending on the subject or topic, but how does a speaker kind of determine what price point makes sense? Because it also depends on not just the topic, but who you're selling to. Are you selling to stay at home moms who are helping with some parenting skill, or are you selling, like you mentioned, to let's say some higher net worth individual who's interested in investing or real estate? Or are you selling B2C and more or excuse me, B2B and more to companies and corporations who may have bigger budgets? So how do you kind of think through what pricing might look like?
Definitely at the consumer level, whether it be a stay-at-home mom, or somebody who already has a job that's looking for supplemental income, or somebody, like I said, that's deciding whether or not, like, they should invest in college or just develop a particular job skill. One of the best ways to determine the value of your courses and what you have to offer is the ROI. So let's say that once you take my skill, let's say I have a real estate course, and once you take my course, then you'll be able to make, say, $150,000 a year. Then you could say, okay, a reasonable price for that would be 25 or $30,000, and that's a reasonable ROI and nice expectations. If you take the course and you do all the tasks and you perform like you're supposed to, you'll be making $150,000. Then it almost makes it an easy decision for the for the end user.
There are definitely like courses that are created that are kind of put out there into the ether, that do really really well, and those that don't. And some of it is just kind of on matching up with like what the market is looking for and what a consumer needs. So is there anything that you'd recommend as terms of how a speaker kind of validate, is this I can get booked and paid to speak on this topic, but that doesn't necessarily translate into course material. So how do I even just to determine if this is a valid topic that people would be interested in learning in a course type of format?
I would say the best way to do is by start talking with other people. Maybe develop a small group and have a webinar. See what type of interest you gain. Get some initial feedback from the people that are on the webinar, and fine tune it from there. So that they can say, okay, well, I really like it, but I need more details. I need more. How do I get started? How much money do I need? So you only learn all that from experience, and by practice and having webinars and then giving feedback, then you have better knowledge of what type of course to build.
And so, in terms of like the again going back to the course material, when you talk about like just getting started there, if I have all this content, is there any like how many modules should I have, and how many lessons? How should I put it into some type of format or outline?
So most people do it in make it a 10 to 12 week course, and it's typically have a weekly call with all the members in the course, and then from there, what you could have is assignments so people can make progress and do some work on their own, and that's typically the best way to do it is with weekly webinars and assignments throughout the course, and commence with some action items.
So there are, there's kind of two sides of the equation. There's the let people go through it just 1 week at a time, and you have to complete step one before you're allowed to go into step two, and it's kind of gated throughout the process. And others, it's kind of a Netflix of hey, come in, and you can kind of pick and choose your own adventure, and it's just kind of a buffet of information. Can you talk to us about the pros and cons between each, and which you might recommend?
So it really depends on the end user. So a lot of people they require that discipline of being able to follow a script and follow a syllabus almost of okay, I got to do this week, this week, this week, and then there's others that the courses are independent study almost. So a lot of it depends on the market segment that you're in and how detailed your course is and what the skill set is. So, for example, somebody that's teaching a certain skill, like say cybersecurity or something like that, then that's probably better suited for a strict, a strong curriculum that's pretty much guided with steps, so that that you're getting certified, that you know all the tasks to do, as opposed to say flipping houses or making money and investing. Those could be more of do on your own type courses.
You mentioned also that some parts are going to be pre-recorded, some parts may be live. There may be some other elements there, like you mentioned, some assignments, or maybe some homework, or maybe some type of interaction. What have you found works well in terms of like what's that right balance of how much should be pre-recorded, how much should be live? Should anything be live? Should it stay just more evergreen? Like how should speakers be thinking about that?
You should definitely have at least say 2 hours a week of interactive, interact live interactive contact with the students. Give them a chance, obviously, to ask questions, get feedback from other students. So minimum, I'd say, is 2 hours a week of live.
And so within those 2 hours live, you mentioned like the kind of the Q&A. Should it primarily just be Q&A, or how should that time best be used?
No, it could also be an instruction as well. So, giving real life examples of, okay, this is how I got started. The first step is to, do this, define your goals. Let's start with this task, and, instruction as well, live instruction that's allows people to be interactive during the process.
How much? And again, I know that this is going to depend on someone's course, but and you know the audience and various topics. But how much time should an average student expect to spend on course material each week? Because then, from a course creator, from the speaker standpoint, as we're working on this, you know, we're trying to pick and choose how much stuff to put in it, and do I leave this in? Do I pull this out? Should this be some type of bonus material? Because on one hand, you know, I think from a content creator, from a speaker standpoint, we think, oh, we want to give them everything possible. But in some cases, that can be too much and it can be way overwhelming. And so, from like a marketing perspective, we may want to say like, hey, good news, in my course there's 100 hours of content, you know, as if like this is a ton of information. But for a consumer, they may be like, 100 hours of content, like when the heck am I going to get through 100 hours of content, you know? So how do you think about like how much should be in there? What do we include, what do we not include?
In general, I've seen, most people who start taking these types of courses are doing it part time. So either as supplemental income, or they already have a part-time job to start to, obviously fund their life and make some type of money. So you don't want to overwhelm them, like you said, 100 hours of content. Here you go, just dump it on them. Typically, what we see most people do is you need to commit at least, say, 10 to 15 hours per week to this course in order for it to be effective for you.
Okay. And then you said most courses are typically going to be around 12 weeks long. Like, how do you determine how long something should be?
It's just general what we see as being the most effective when you spread out the content. So, like I said, don't want to overwhelm people with too much content. Um, and that gives them enough time to make mistakes, to learn, and still be interactive with everybody. So that's what we generally see is the sweet spot for courses.
Now, are most courses, once they're created, is it just kind of like a set it and forget it, or are most content creators like continually updating their courses? And like, what should we expect from like an ongoing maintenance standpoint with a course?
Most of them continue to update the content, enhance it, because obviously you want to have that opportunity to do upsells as well. Once you have them go through your course, then you want to upsell them and say, okay, I can mentor you now for $500 a month or $1,000 a month. And the way you do that is by generating new content and mentoring the person and providing more value to them as they go on their journey.
So once you create the course, and again, it's kind of like if you build it, they will not come. You know, you put a lot of time and effort into this course, but nobody really cares. So from that point, what should speakers, course creators start doing to think about and like how do I sell this? How do I actually put this out into the world?
Social media is obviously the best way to do it, and that's how majority of our vendors, how they're so successful and how they're able to scale, whether it be through TikTok, through Instagram, not as much Facebook, but really TikTok and Instagram are the two media outlets that most people use, and they're able to effectively scale with that.
Via paid ads or via organic, or like what are they doing on social that's
Either
working?
paid ads or just developing interesting content. So a lot of them will develop shorts, YouTube shorts, or TikTok videos, or Instagram shorts that are catchy and become viral almost, and then people get hooked, and they want to learn more.
And so in some of those situations, the you know we want to think about like where the audience actually is. And so you know if your audience is not on Instagram or TikTok, what are some other things that we should be doing in terms of like how do we best reach new people?
Well, obviously, if as this professional speaker, when you're speaking at an event, that's probably a nice target audience for you. So, maybe when you're having a speaking event, you call out some action items for people to come speak with you after, to learn more, to who are interested in the skill that you're talking about or the topic that you're talking about. If they're not on some of those social media platforms, then you need to find other industry events, trade shows, or something that's a nice fit for that particular topic.
And so you mentioned like social media, you mentioned speaking. Like how important is it for a speaker to have their own email list as a form of staying connected to their audience?
It's definitely important. Definitely, an email list. You'd say regular newsletters to stay in front of them, let them know that you're out there. So that's also a very effective way of staying in touch with your customers.
And so once you have some type of audience, and this is something that doesn't happen overnight, but something that you're building over time, to to promote what it is that you're doing, and you're building that know, like, and trust. What is that like? What's the process then from someone finds you on social, or someone sees a video, or someone's on your email list, to then buying the product? Like, that doesn't just happen overnight. So what help us like connect the dots there between point A and point B.
So let's say they just find you on Instagram or TikTok. Typically, they'll have a button on the video that says, click here to learn more. And then from there, you go and you book a appointment. So it's not like you just click there and then you go to buy something. Most of these people, once you book an appointment with them, they have a setter, a person that does the intro call, and then they start to develop interest from the customer, and then from there they send them over to a closer, and the closer closes the deal and says, takes them through the process of the course, addresses any financial concerns they have, like especially with the Copecart platform. You could say, okay, your course is $10,000, and you want to put 5,000 down on your credit card. You want to finance the other 5,000. All those options are available through Copecart, and that's one of the biggest concerns that people have, is making that investment in a course. So you want to be able to address that on the phone and not just drive them directly to a checkout page, where lots of times probably the 95% of them will fall off and not follow through with the purchase.
Well, a lot of that, wouldn't that depend on the price point of the program? So, meaning that, if someone's investing in a $10,000 program, they're probably going to want to talk to someone. But if it's
Yes.
a $97 course, or a couple $100 course or something, doing a sales phone call is probably going to be overkill, and probably just not even going to be cost effective for the course creator. So,
Mhm.
you mentioned like selling over the phone, but also, like, what are the other methodologies of how someone could sell it?
Sure. So with Copecart, they could also embed a link within their Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, and a person can click on it. And like you said, if it's $97 a month, they could just click on it and go right to a checkout page and make the purchase. So that's another feature that's available through Copecart.
So they could just go to a checkout page. Can we create a sales page as well, just to get some more information
Yes.
about it?
Yep. Yeah, you can create a sales page, and then from there it can go into the checkout page as well.
Any general tips on when does it make sense to have, because you mentioned like that, the setter or the closer, which is a common model, but it's also like it can be a lot more complicated doing something like that. At what point is there a certain price point that makes sense for, versus just having a sales page or some type of automated way that someone could buy?
I definitely say anything that's $1,000 or more, because that's the point when people really start to second guess themselves, or they have a lot of questions, and that's where really the phone sales is needed.
And so, if like, one of the ways you talked about earlier in terms of starting to build an audience and to sell your online program, is via online ads. But if you are, a speaker who's early in your career, you've got a good program, and you're just looking for some other like low budget ways to get the word out, to promote what it is that you're doing, what are some other like things that you have seen from in your audience that has worked well?
Simple things like buying email list, or there's tons of companies, lead generation companies, that will do all the work for you, set up appointments for you. So those are some things other than social media that we found that is very effective. Also with the affiliate marketing. So for example, like I said, we have 100,000 affiliates on our platform. So you can put your program on our platform, and those 100,000 affiliates could say, "Oh, this is interesting. I want to help promote this." And they could promote it through their social media or wherever, and then they get a commission, and you don't even have to do anything. We manage the payment to them. So let's say it's $1,000 and you want to pay 10% commission, then we'll pay the $100 to the affiliate and pay the balance over to you. So that's also a good way to scale, is using the affiliate network.
So talk to us more about the affiliates, because that's something that for some speakers who are going like, "Hey, that's intriguing, that's interesting," but I don't necessarily have, my mom doesn't have an audience like as if she's going to be an affiliate. So, how would I find other affiliates? What kind of split should that be? It sounds like that's something that you might be able to help with.
Yeah, it depends on your gross margins and your costs on the course, and how much your involvement is one on one. Some of these courses, they're wash and rinse, and repeat. So in that case, you could have gross margins of up to 80%. So we've seen in some cases they'll pay commissions, affiliate commissions up to 40%. But a lot of it just depends on what your involvement is on a day-to-day basis and your interaction on one. Obviously, the more time that you invest in each customer, then the higher your cost is going to be, and the less you'll be able to give for commissions. But even something as 10% is attractive enough because people can just simply post it and refer people over to you.
And where are most people, if I'm an affiliate within your network there, where are most people typically selling their program? Because just because like you have a program, you're like, hey, I would, you like you said, you got a bank of a ton of affiliates, doesn't necessarily mean that my program would be a good fit for the various audiences that are out there.
Obviously, the most successfuls that we've seen are leveraging YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. Those are probably by far the way that they're able to scale and scale quickly.
One thing we didn't really touch on as relates to just the course itself is you kind of touched on like there may be one-on-one or group coaching, but how important is like just the community element to a successful program? Because it could just be like, hey, I go through this in isolation. Maybe I have a little limited interaction one-on-one with a coach, perhaps,
Yeah.
but for the most part, maybe it's just me watching videos or watching recordings. Is it important or necessary to have some type of community element and would I do that in Facebook or Slack or through you guys? Like, how does that work?
It's definitely important to build a community because when somebody buys this course and if they're all in the dark, then they'll start to second guess themselves. So they're saying, wait, am I smart enough to do this? Do I have the motivation to do this? Am I doing the right thing? Because that's always the scary part of doing something on your own or starting your own business is, am I doing the right thing? Can I be successful? So having a community of like-minded individuals who are in the same situation that you're in really helps you continue and drive and measure yourself as far as where you are in the course versus other people, and work together to all be successful.
And where should we host or that community? Any recommendations there?
Some of them do dedicated Facebook groups or Slack, like you mentioned. Um, so just any type of common network where everyone can be part of, and use messaging on a regular basis. We work with some other platforms as well, where the community gets together. For example, a platform called School,
Mhm.
and that's where everyone can talk to each other, have messages, talk about concerns. So any of those social media platforms are able to create those groups for you that are exclusive to the course.
And so for a speaker who again they've got their content, then they want to branch out from just speaking. Courses is one way, but there's also you could do have a YouTube channel or podcasting or coaching or consulting. There's a lot of different things that you could do. Like, why should a speaker really strongly lean into and consider doing some type of online training?
Obviously, people are finding value in the content that the speaker has to say because they're paying them a pretty good amount of money to give a 30-minute or a 1 hour speech. And all they have to do is repackage that messaging and then market it, and provide that to other people that just didn't happen to be at the event. So whether it be a motivational speaker or people telling their life story, it's extremely helpful to people, and people pay for content like that on a regular basis. So you could put it behind a paywall, or you could use it as teasers within your social media and a YouTube channel, and then get people to join your courses or subscribe to your channels.
You mentioned a second ago that a lot of times course creators just kind of have that limiting belief of, why would anyone care what I had to say and who am I to
Yep.
create this? Like, what are some of those common misconceptions and limiting beliefs that you see course creators on your platform have? And what advice would you give to help them overcome those?
I've seen it, seen them be successful so many times. We have so many vendors that have gone from, they're selling $5,000 or $6,000 a month to now they're doing $3 or $4 million a month. So the biggest thing, and just like anything in life, is having that determination and that vision of, I'm going to make this successful. And the more affirmation you get from others, the more confident you become. So just like anything, I think if it's something that you're truly passionate about and you've had some successes, then if you say, okay, I can do it today and I can get 5x, then how do I go to that next step and take it to 10x, to 50x, to 100x? And that all has to do with just your own confidence and hard work.
Cool. Michael, we appreciate the time here. If people want to find out more about you and Copecart, where can we go?
Copecart.com, Copecart. And I'm also on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. And Grant, you can post my contact information. Be happy to share any information with anybody or talk in greater detail.
Awesome. Michael, we appreciate the time.
Thank you, Grant. Okay. Yeah, a lot of questions.